NDLA arrests businessman for ingesting 53 wraps of cocaine while attempting to board flight to Iran. In Lagos State, commercial tricycle rider killed after head-on collision with sports utility vehicle. On the foreign scene, Iran and Israel continue to exchange strikes with dozens killed. Good evening, this is News at 7 on Western Spring Television. My name is Okpayemuni. Happy Father's Day. Angry youths have stormed the Urukum food basket runabout to protest the killing of scores of residents by suspected herdsmen in Yelwata in Benue State. The protesters were later joined by social media influencer Martin Ose, also known as Very Dark Man. Speaking to journalists, one of the protesters, Solomon Amande, said Benue youths were angry at the deafening silence of President Bola Tinubu and the governor of Benue State, despite the killing of children, women, and the elderly. An attempt by the deputy governor of Benue State, Sam Ode, to address the protesters was resisted, as they told him to tell the governor, Hyacinth Alia, to come personally to address them. They were later confronted by armed policemen and soldiers who attempted to stop them, leading to an escalation and the use of tear gas on the protesters. However, the defiant protesters said they would resist any intimidation, calling on the president and the governor to take action. The protest came amid incessant attacks that have resulted in deaths of innocent people across the state. Yesterday, armed raiders invaded Yelwata and Daudu towns in Guma local government area of the state, killing hundreds of people, including security operatives. Meanwhile, Governor Alia of Benue State has condemned the attack and killing of innocent citizens, saying he was not resting to ensure that the state experiences peace. He therefore assured the residents that more tactical teams had started arriving in Benue from the federal government, and additional security deployments were being arranged for vulnerable areas.
If somebody is being defeated, that means the person is a failure. At this point in time, the Benue youth will have come out in our masses to say this administration has failed us. Our people cannot go back to their farms. Our people cannot go back to their ancestral homes. And these farms are the places where they farm, they labor to feed us, to train us in schools. And we are here today because our people cannot go back to labor for our younger ones. So where are we running to? We'll be running from our ancestral home to Makodi. Coming to Makodi, people have been running again from Agan to Yelwata to this place. And the Makodi itself is not safe. The other day it was not back here. Where are we running to? We continue running from these headers. And our leaders, our governor has remained close-mouthed. We are calling on them that if they cannot do it for us, they should quietly resign and tell us that this responsibility has become a burden to them and they can no longer tolerate, they can no longer condole it because their capacity has not reached to it. At this point in time, we are calling all the relevant security authorities to come on board to see how they can curtail this thing.
In the meantime, former Vice President and the 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has condemned the recent attack in Yelwata, Benue State, that left many feared dead and called on Nigerians to hold their leaders accountable. Atiku, in a statement posted on his X account, said the killings underscored the escalating insecurity crisis facing Nigeria. The former vice president said the sorrow felt by those orphaned, displaced, and widowed by the attackers could not be adequately expressed in words. He also called for an engagement with affected communities through dialogue, traditional leadership, and civil society to restore confidence and foster resilience. According to him, compensation and support efforts, including medical aid, trauma counseling, and livelihood restoration, should be accelerated for survivors and bereaved families. Meanwhile, former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has condemned the recent wave of killings in Benue State, describing the massacre of women, children, soldiers, and displaced persons as a national tragedy that demands urgent attention. In a statement shared via his X handle on Sunday, Obi expressed deep sorrow over the reported killing of over 200 people in a single attack, lamenting the destruction of homes and displacement of entire communities. He criticized what he called a recurring failure of leadership, stressing that the Nigerian government at all levels has a constitutional responsibility to protect lives and property. Obi also sent a message of solidarity to the people of Benue assuring them that their suffering is shared by many Nigerians. He urged relevant authorities to go beyond symbolic gestures and take concrete, decisive actions to end the bloodshed and restore peace in the region. The killings in Benue have sparked outrage across the country, with many calling for stronger security measures and accountability from government officials. Pope Leo on Sunday offered prayers for the victims of what he described as a terrible massacre in Benue State. Over 100 people were reportedly brutally killed in the Walter community of Guma local government area in one of the latest incidents of attacks in the state. Speaking during a Sunday Angelus prayer, the pontiff said most of the victims were internally displaced persons who had sought shelter at a local Catholic mission in the area, making the attack even more horrifying.
Notte tra il 13 e il 14 giugno nella città di Yelewata, nell'area amministrativa locale di Guma, nello stato di Benue, in Nigeria, si è verificato un terribile massacro in cui circa 200 persone sono state uccise con estrema crudeltà, la maggior parte delle quali erano sfollati interni, ospitati dalla missione cattolica locale. Prego affinché la sicurezza, la giustizia e la pace prevalgano in Nigeria, paese amato e così colpito da varie forme di violenza. E prego in modo particolare per le comunità cristiane rurali dello Stato di Benue, che incessantemente sono stati vittime della violenza.
In Jigawa State, joint security operatives have arrested 7 suspected fraudsters in a coordinated raid at Kankare and Zakroda villages located in Bidin Kudu local government area. The operation marks another significant step in the state's ongoing efforts to tackle the recent spike in financial crimes. It will be recalled that the Jigawa Police Command recently apprehended several suspects linked to similar fraudulent schemes, recovering substantial quantities of counterfeit currency and other incriminating materials from the same Benin Kudu axis. In a statement, the spokesperson for the State Police Command, Shisu Adam, said the arrests were made following credible intelligence about the suspects' criminal activities. He said the suspects were in custody and undergoing preliminary investigation. The spokesperson further disclosed that several items believed to have been used in perpetrating financial crimes were recovered during the operation. Moving on, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has arrested businessman Ezemokwe Chukwebuka Christian for ingesting 53 wraps of cocaine while attempting to board a flight to Iran from Port Harcourt International Airport. Ezemokwe was intercepted while boarding a Qatar Airways flight to Tehran, Khomeini, via Doha. Following a body scan that tested positive for narcotics ingestion, he was placed under observation and excreted the illicit drugs in 6 batches. According to a statement by NDLEA spokesperson Femi Babafemi, the suspect admitted to being involved in drug trafficking between West Africa and Iran for the past 2 years. Meanwhile, NDLEA operatives at Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, arrested an Italy-bound passenger, Edobo Ambrose Ali, for attempting to smuggle 14,410 tramadol pills concealed in winter jackets. In Lagos, a commercial tricycle rider has died after a head-on collision with a sports utility vehicle reportedly driving against traffic in the Okwafo area of the state. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority said the incident occurred along the Badagry Expressway corridor. According to a statement by LASMA spokesperson Adebayo Taufik, the SUV driver was fleeing traffic congestion by taking a one-way route from Ilepo towards Okwafo, where he collided with the oncoming tricycle. Taufik confirmed that the tricyclist sustained severe injuries, including a critical knee dislocation, and died at the scene. He also noted that the SUV driver fled the scene immediately after the crash, leaving behind the vehicle and the deceased victim. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SRAB, has urged President Bola Tinubu to back up his Democracy Day rhetoric with defensive action by addressing the lingering injustices in Nigeria's democratic history, especially the landmark June 12, 1993 presidential election. This was disclosed in a statement by the group's Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare. SRAB urged President Bola Tinubu to set up a presidential panel of inquiry to investigate the annulment of the election on June 12 and uncover those who are behind what is described as the deliberate violations of Nigerians' democratic freedoms. The organization stated that not minding the political position of individuals found responsible, they should be brought to justice through the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi. SRAB also urged the President to instruct Fagbemi to urgently draft and present an executive bill to the National Assembly seeking to amend the Electoral Act 2022, specifically to make the electronic transmission of election results mandatory and grant all voters access to election documents. The group argued that this would enhance electoral transparency, prevent manipulation, and help restore public confidence in Nigeria's electoral process. The organization called on the president to immediately halt all prosecutions and drop charges against Nigerians currently detained or facing trial simply for exercising their rights to peaceful protest and free expression. In other news, the Minister of Works, David Umahi, has dismissed claims that the administration of President Bola Tinubu is prioritizing the South in infrastructure allocation across the country. While addressing the media during a two-day inspection tour of federal road projects in Rivers and Bayelsa states, Umahi described the claims as misleading, saying the North currently holds 52% of legacy projects compared to the South's 48%. He accused those behind the claims of spreading false narratives and reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to equitable infrastructure development nationwide. But while Umahi has said that the Bonny Border Road in Rivers State will be completed and inaugurated by November 2025, he confirmed that 5.3 kilometers of concrete pavement had already been completed and directed that stone base and asphalt be applied on the section to prepare it for the commissioning ceremony. He added that the federal government plans to expand the road into a dual carriageway and install solar-powered street lights with the potential for an operate-maintain model to ensure sustainability. You're watching News at 7 on Western Spring Television. Still to come, Lagos State government sues residential property for illegally discharging raw sewage into public drainage channel. We'll bring you more on this when we return.
Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Funmilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Ololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born on 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television, identifies Funmilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history.
I am Josh Too Funny. I'm a comedian and I like to make people laugh. Fly up. But it's not funny that we're losing our unique gorillas. We only have around 100 left and they are threatened by habitat loss and traps set for bushmeat. So please say no to illegal bushmeat because protecting nature protects us all.
Gbadamosi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held lofty the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkelemens was a natively corrupted version of peculiar mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history.
Welcome back. This is still news at 7 on Western Spring Television. A reminder of our headlines. Angry youth storm streets in Benue State to protest killing of scores of residents by suspected herdsmen. NDLEA arrests businessman for ingesting 53 wraps of cocaine while attempting to board flights to Iran. In Lagos State, commercial tricycle rider killed after head-on collision with sports utility vehicle. On the foreign scene, Iran and Israel continue to exchange strikes with dozens killed.